D'Angelo Pons just elevated his 2026 NFL draft stock with a lockdown performance against Oregon.
You are Locked On NFL Draft, your daily podcast covering the NFL Draft. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome back to the Locked On NFL Draft Podcast, your daily podcast covering your favorite draft prospects. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. I'm your boy, Damian Parson. I'm an NFL draft analyst with Bleacher Report. That's my guy, Keith Sanchez. He's the director of scouting with the Draft Network and 2019 national champion with the LSU Tigers. And as always, thank you for making Locked On NFL Draft your first listen today and every day. Shout out for being our everydayers. Guys, we got a fun one. We're recapping the action from round 3, the semifinals of the college football playoffs. We're going to talk about the guys that made themselves some money and raised their stocks, the bag fumblers who dropped their stocks, and hand out our game ball of the week. Before we get into that, today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. FanDuel is officially in playoff mode. Every game day during the NFL playoffs, FanDuel is giving customers even more ways to get in on the action. Visit FanDuel.com to get started.
No hiding from the tape. It's time for Moneymakers and Bag Fumblers.
Moneymakers, Keith, when you think back to this past weekend or Thursday, it was Thursday and Friday before we had the Super Wild Card weekend or whatever the NFL calls it nowadays. You look at the college football playoff games and Indiana, Oregon, which was not what we expected in terms of the results of that game and the competitiveness of that game. And then you had the thriller that was Miami, Ole Miss. Who made themselves some money for you?
Yep. So I'll start with the second game and the first play of the second game. D'Angelo Pons with the interception, right? We talked about this young man being an ultimate play worker, right? Being able to play on the outside, being able to play the nickel, high instinctual football player. You talked about it. He's like, listen, if this young man was 6 foot or 5'11" plus, he would be considered a top 50 pick, right? And when you make interceptions like he did, a tone-setting interception, first play of the game, picking off a guy who some people believe is QB1 in this NFL draft, right? And you returning for a touchdown, then you get people to start to look at like, okay, maybe he's a tall 5'9", right? Like you're not just 5'9", you're a tall 5'9". And you start to compensate for certain measurables that maybe don't hit the thresholds for an NFL cornerback, right? Or even you start to find different comps, right? Like if you think of this is about to be a name, but I think Dante Hall, right? I don't know how tall Dante Hall was, but you just come up with different corners that like, man, listen, these guys played 10 plus years in the league, and maybe you don't take them in the first round, right? But maybe in the second round, you're like, you know what? I'll take a gamble on that young man. So I think D'Angelo Pons for me was the ultimate moneymaker, just making that game changing. I'll say tone setting interception from the very beginning, a player that we highlighted on Thursday or Friday of last week. And I mean, he kicked things off for fireworks.
Yeah, no, definitely a tone setter, right? The first play. Was that the first play from scrimmage?
I think so. Yeah, I think it was the very first play.
The very first play. I mean, Dante Moore stared it down. He read his eyes and he baited him into the throw and he jumped it. And the ball was left. I think it was like more inside and everything, and throwing those outbreakers, you got to put that ball outside, out in the way, you know what I mean, away from the DB, and he left it inside, and D'Angelo Pons jumped it. I mean, I think you look at, guy, me and you, like, back at our time together at the Draft Network, Roger McCreary coming out as a smaller corner who played on the outside and could play in the slot. Mike Sainristil last year, not this 2025 class, I think it was 2024 class, who was with the Washington Commanders, who played for some slot receiver at Michigan, flipped over and started playing defensive back, and he's been a good addition to that secondary who could play nickel, play outside. He's plays bigger than his frame and everything. So yeah, D'Angelo Pons definitely made himself some money, because at the end of the day, it's at the point where I continue my talking point with all this stuff is sometimes we can't make it a beauty pageant, right? Like, listen, Ruben Bain, D'Angelo Pons, are you a good football player? Do you make good football plays? I'm drafting those guys. That's why Kurt Signetti has a team he has that's undefeated, because he went after guys like that, while some other teams said, no, we don't want a guy like that. Keith, I think for me, when I look at in terms of money makers, Elijah Sarratt was good in this game. He was good in this game, and it started kind of with that, because you had the pick six, so then Oregon gets the ball back. Oregon has 2 offensive drives before Indiana's offense could get on the field, so they were coming off off of warm-ups and stuff like that. It was probably 10 minutes off the clock or something like that, because they end up having like a long drive. So 2 offensive drives before you can get on the field. And in this game, Elijah Sarratt was 7 for 7, 75 yards receiving, 2 receiving touchdowns. And it was that matchup against, Brandon Finney Jr., the freshman. And I wondered how that was going to play out. Hey, you guys are similar height and build. Will you be able to make and convert those contested catches, back shoulder fades? And that connection, I said it back in the summer. I was like, when I knew Fernando Mendoza was transferring in, so I'm excited for this connection between him and Elijah Sarratt, because of the fact that with Sarratt, he's a good route runner, short area quickness, he can get open. But even when you are in phase, he still can get open because of the back shoulder fade, because of the ball skills, the body control, the hand-eye coordination, and that connection between him and Mendoza. That back shoulder fade right on the face mask. And I'm like, yeah, I think what Dan Marino said, there's no defense for the perfect throw. And when you have guys on that type of wavelength between receiver and quarterback, it's hard to defend. And again, 2 touchdowns. He made plays all over the field, man. And again, he dominated in the first game with over 100 yards. This game, he was just more efficient. 7 for 7, 75 yards, 2 receiving touchdowns, and they got a big blowout win.
Yep, DP, are you talking about Dan Marino or Dan Orlovsky? Which one?
I think it was Dan Marino that said this. Not Dan
Okay.
I think it was Dan Marino.
Yeah, no, because I had to correct, and I was about to correct myself too, DP. I think I said Dante Hall, right? I went with the shifty playmaker wide receiver. It was D'Angelo Hall. It was D'Angelo Hall. Yeah, I had to correct myself. I was about to just go for the double dose right there. But DP, how can we not do this show and not talk about Carson Beck, right?
Yeah, man.
And everything was being made and said, right? And I can't remember if you were at the draft network at this time, right? But I remember we hopped on a staff call, and this was last year when he went through a stretch, right? He threw maybe 7 interceptions in 2 or 3 games, and it was like, I don't know if this young man is like playing football is for him at this moment. Just and it sounds crazy now just off of what he was, but you can tell when somebody has hit a sunken place or a quarterback, right? Where it's just like, it's just not going their way, and you can tell the facial expressions. And I think he got pulled at one point at Georgia, right? And he was sitting on the bench. And to go from that to a year later, you are leading a team to the national championship, right? And we know that like Texas A&M, right? That wasn't a Carson Beck game, right? That was defense and make one more play than the other team makes, right? But the past 2 outings have been Carson Beck making plays, right? And having to make some things happen. And then for him for Ole Miss to respond, to drive down the field, go up, and then for Miami, I was about to say Georgia, for Miami to get the football and drive down the field and Carson Beck to make a clutch time play. That's what everybody wanted to see, right? Can you make a clutch time play? Like, are you going to turn the football over? As soon as Miami got the football, I think the narrative for every NFL draft analyst, for any NFL draft fan, for every fan that needs a quarterback is Carson Beck going to turn the football over, right? And that was the conversation, and he didn't. He made the throws that need to be made, and then he made the play, right? Whether it was with his arm or his legs, he made the play. And for me, DP, I think that's important to talk about with quarterbacks, period. If the 5 yards are there, take the 5 yards. Run. Just run it. Like it doesn't matter whether you throw it for 5 yards or run for 5 yards. It's still the same 5 yards. We've talked quarterbacks out of using some of their best traits to like, oh, no, you run too much. Okay, are they winning or they're getting positive yards? The goal, the ultimate goal of football is to stop the other team from moving the ball and for your team to move the ball to the end zone. So however that happens, just make it happen, right? Like don't take away a potential trait. Like, because if he'd have not thrown, like, man, I have to prove it that I could throw the ball into the end zone, and he'd have sat there and potentially threw a deflection or interception, then he would have taken away a moment for himself. So I had to highlight
I like that. No, definitely. I was going to think about highlighting them as well, Keith. I'll close this segment, this topic out with one of his receivers, Keelan Marion, wide receiver, 6'1", 195. Believe he's a 5th-year senior. Started his career out at UConn for 2 years. Transferred to BYU for 2 years, and this is his best season this year. He's really come on down the stretch for this team over the last couple of weeks, the last month and a half or so. I think 3 games over 90 yards receiving, 2 100-yard receiving games. And in this game against Ole Miss, 7 of 10, 114 yards in the receiving touchdown. And the big, especially because Carson Beck at the time was struggling with the deep ball, he got wide open. I haven't watched the All-22 yet on that game. Got wide open, and it was just an easy pitch and catch. This is a guy in a wide receiver class that's already loaded with talent. We might have another one that we need to throw out there.
Yeah, no, 100%. With DP, let's do this, man. We talked about the guys that made themselves some money, right? The money makers, stock up guys. Let's talk about the guys whose stock dropped quite a bit, right? And there was a couple performances by a couple guys whose stock is questionable after this game, right? Their stock has dropped. So let's talk about that with our bag fumbler segment coming up next.
This episode is brought to you by PrizePicks. Whether you're starting a new routine or jumping into player projections for the first time, trying something new can feel like a challenge. But with PrizePicks, it always feels good to be right. With high-pressure football matchups every weekend and elite hoops action almost every night, the action never slows down, and PrizePicks lets you stay in control. PrizePicks is a daily fantasy app that makes watching sports even more exciting by letting you build lineups based on player projections. No drafts, no waiting, just pick more or less and play your way. Getting started on PrizePicks was quick and simple. The app is super easy to use and navigate. Download the PrizePicks app today and use the code LOCKEDONNFL to get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. That's code LOCKEDONNFL to get $50 lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. PrizePicks is good to be right. What if sports were traded like markets? Now you could put your sports IQ to work in real time with Robinhood prediction markets. It's not just you against the house, it's you participating in a live market. You can buy or sell your positions live all game long. Use your sports knowledge in the moments that matter. Robinhood prediction markets changes the game. It's people moving the action, so when the momentum shifts, you can move with it. I always knew the game, but never had a dynamic way to apply that knowledge. Now I can actually take part live in a market powered by the people. You're no longer just a spectator. Play by play, you decide. Trade every play with Robinhood. Now available across the U.S. Download the Robinhood app now to begin. Futures and cleared swaps trading involves significant risk, and is not appropriate for everyone. Event contracts are offered by Robinhood Derivatives, LLC, a registered futures commission merchant and swap firm. With the money on the table, who fumbled the bag on the way out?
No hiding from the tape. It's time for moneymakers and bag fumblers.
Keith, and I think that goes, man, it's a couple guys from Oregon I want to highlight.
Yeah, it's quite a few.
Quite a few, actually.
I mean, DP, let's now cut, like we got to go to quarterbacks. Let's start with Dante Moore.
We got to talk Dante Moore.
Yeah, let's start with Dante Moore. I'm going to ask you your takeaways and your opinions on it.
Man, of course, the first play, the pick six, he was just like, this is not what I want to see from you. And then the next drive, like, he orchestrated the drive. He got him downfield. He was in rhythm. And he made the throw to the tight end, I think Johnson, the other tight end, and everything. I was like, okay, there we go. And then it went right back almost to like the first drive where he just, like, to me, throughout the rest of that game with Dante Moore, I saw a player and a quarterback, Keith, that wasn't confident throwing the football. There were some moments where I'm like, rip the throw, Dante. And I just felt like he was just timid. He was passive. And he just wasn't taking what was there, and he held the ball. He had like 3 fumbles or something like that in this game. Not even defensive calls either. It was drop back. He goes to throw ball, slips out of his hand. And I'm like, Dante, what's going on, big dog? You know what I mean? Like, unless you got Kenny Pickett-like hands, that shouldn't be happening, right? Like, unless you got some 8.5-inch hands, we shouldn't see the ball flying out of your hands like that. But he just struggled to find his footing and rhythm all game. And he just was an indecisive thrower at the end of the day, like, just from a decision making. Now, I'll say this, Keith. Yes, his stock, and when I say his stock dropped from the being in the conversation for QB1. Like, I had him close. I didn't think it was as close as some people had it, but I had it close. Now it's clear that Fernando Mendoza is QB1 in this class.
Yeah, so I want to stay in this conversation for a minute. So I'm gonna go ahead and name off a couple other guys, and then we're gonna jump back to this Dante Moore
Gotcha.
conversation, right? Quickly,
Yep.
you talked about the pressure, the fumbles from Dante Moore, right? That we can't not highlight the offensive line and a couple draft prospects, right? Talking about Isaiah World and Alex Harkey, right? And their
Man.
performances, and it was a mixed bag of inconsistencies, right, from both of
Mhm.
those guys, and I think that ultimately affected Dante Moore too. Wanted to get that out the way so then we can get back to Dante Moore. 'Cause I think that's the
Mhm.
big thing, right?
Yeah, for sure.
Where does he land now? And I'm not talking about a team or what pick.
Yeah.
Where does he land in the big conversation of quarterbacks, right? And
Mhm.
supposed to be first round quarterbacks. And because the reason I'm gonna say that is because I comped him to CJ Stroud, and
Mhm.
I still feel the same way. And the
Same.
reason I gained was because CJ Stroud had these games at Ohio State. Like, we have to remember, like, he was a guy too that was like, hey, big games, when you gonna show up? I
Yeah.
think his entire
Mhm.
career, I don't believe he beat Michigan. I think he went the
Mm-mm.
3-4 year stretch, however long he was at Ohio State, they didn't beat Michigan, right? And he had some of those
Right.
games where it was like head scratching, to like, well, where's your answer to this, right? And I think
Mhm.
that was the conversation with Dante Moore, was like, where's your answer, right? So I want to ask you, like, repeat the question, I'm sorry. Where does he rank now for you as far as the hierarchy of great quarterback prospect to good quarterback prospect to solid quarterback prospect? Like, where does he rank in that, in projecting him to the NFL if he still decides to declare?
I think he's a really good quarterback prospect that can be great. I still believe in the ceiling of this young man. Like I said, to be a natural fluid thrower of the football, mechanically he's sound. He is accurate at all three levels. It's more so to me that youth at times has shown up this season where, and mostly we saw it against Indiana, like a defense that changes the picture, that doesn't give you the easy throws and easy outlets, and you got to get through your progressions, but you can't get through your progressions with the protection that you have. And it was just kind of a snowball effect for him when you play a team like Indiana. We just talked about it when the beginning of the Texas Tech game, he was playing well, right? It was playing well up until like the middle of that, maybe second quarter or third quarter, whatever the case may be. And then that defensive pressure got back there, and they were able to get him off schedule, get him uncomfortable. And I think for him, yeah, I think he's a really good quarterback prospect that still can be great. I'm not listen, Keith. I won't overreact like some of the people on Twitter and some of the analysts on Twitter. Like, oh, now he's got to go back. And listen, y'all told Drew Allen to go back. You guys told Kate Klubnik to go back. You told Garrett Nussmeier to go back. I think we should get to a point where you stop telling players what to do. Like, because it didn't help any of those guys, right? Like, all at this point, probably all three of those guys I just named probably won't hear their names called until probably third round. Like, you know what I
Mhm.
mean? Where Drew Allen, we sat right here last year, Keith, was like going into that playoff game against was it Notre Dame I think it was Notre Dame. And he was like, you know what, Drew, you just play solid, right? Just play solid. I don't even need you to play great. Play solid. Go to the league after that because the NFL wanted you at the time. They were
Mhm.
super high on you. Well, you know what? You went back and you didn't strike while the iron is hot. Cade Klubnik, you had a really good season last year. You should have
Nussmeier.
left. Nussmeier, yeah, you were heck, Dr. Jekyll, Mr. Hyde, but there were some really good moments last year. You can't look at the tape this year and say, man, those were some really good moments because things
Yeah.
just unraveled at the seams. So I think with Dante Moore still declare, he's still a really good prospect. I think for him more than anything, Keith, and we always say this. Like, I feel like nobody listens to us, but we always say this stuff. No matter what quarterback Keith, you still got Geno Smith on the Raiders. You know what I'm doing if I'm the Raiders? I'm starting Geno for the first 4 or 5 games. I'm not starting Fernando unless Fernando completely outplays him in training
Mhm.
camp. I already paid you. I'm getting my money's worth. If that means you stink it up for 5 weeks, I'm getting my money's worth. I'm letting my rookie quarterback see what you don't do in the midst of the game. But if you play well, he's got to see what you can do and what you're supposed to do with the reads and coverage changes, whatever the case may be. Same thing for Dante Moore, Keith. I'm still drafting. If I'm the Jets, I draft him. But I go and get a Jameis Winston to be that bridge quarterback that connects the dots for him. I'm not out on this kid. I'm not because if he played well, then what are we saying? Oh, he's QB1. Like one game does not decide a draft stock, guys. I'm sorry. I'm not doing it.
Yeah, no, I agree. DP, I'm with you, and I thought about this because this was a conversation that was in my mind because I just feel like the trend in the NFL draft community, right? I'm gonna say it on here, and I know I'm gonna probably repeat it at some point too, is that we go through these cycles of trends, right? And one of the trends at some point was don't draft running backs high and don't pay running backs, right? Then along came Saquon Barkley being basically, he was the MVP of the league. People could say what they want. He was the best player last year. Then came along Bijan and Jahmyr Gibbs, drafted him high, and then people, they're walking that take back, right? And then now I feel like the draft trend now is to tell quarterbacks to just stay in school. Like that's the thing. Like just stay. Like and it's you have to look at both sides of that coin because Dante Moore can stay, just like you mentioned, some of these other quarterbacks can stay. But if they don't have the chemistry with these guys, like we've seen it go bad.
He's
right?
losing his play caller. He's losing his OC.
Yeah, he loses play caller. It could be offensive alignment change. It can be a whole bunch of.
Oh yeah, he's losing both tackles. Both tackles are leaving, and his left guard is leaving.
Thank you. So it can can it get better? Yes, but it can also get worse. So I think I just don't like the blanket of like, oh, that guy didn't play good in this game. You know what? Just go back to school. It's like look back at these quarterbacks, right? All of these quarterbacks. None of them had great resumes. Caleb Williams, we just watched him have a all-time great performance. Do we not remember the Notre Dame game when he threw 3 interceptions in the first half? Right? Like he threw 3 interceptions in the first half against Notre Dame. Like that's the same guy, same quarterback, right? So I think we have to be a little bit more open-minded to how we want to go about this process of just declaring people just go back to school. You played bad. So I'm probably
it's a cop out, Keith. It's a cop out. Like it's a legitimate cop out.
Every quarterback is gonna play bad. Like nobody's gonna have a great game. Like Joe Burrow against Auburn, I think we only scored 18 points or something like that, right? Like that was our defense. That made things happen. So we'll see. But DP, let's do this, man. Let's flip the script. Let's get our hat. Let's get our whistle, and let's get into handing out the game balls for the top performers from this week. The slate of that was semifinals of the college football playoffs for the 2026 NFL draft prospects coming up next.
The wild card round is here, and FanDuel is officially in playoff mode. Every game day during the NFL playoffs, FanDuel is giving customers even more ways to get in on the action. Because right now, every NFL playoff game day, FanDuel users get a profit boost pack waiting for them inside the app. Every game day, you'll see a pack loaded with multiple profit boosts you can apply to the bets you like most. Open your profit boost pack first thing on game day and see what boosts you want to apply. Every play feels bigger, and the boost makes your bets feel the same way too. You make your picks, then apply your profit boost to go after even bigger payouts while the playoffs get rolling. So all you need to do is visit FanDuel, an official sports book partner of the NFL, and grab your profit boost pack every NFL playoff game day. Thank you for making Locked On NFL Draft your first listen to day and everyday shot for being our everydayers. It's time to give out the game balls.
I'm calling game.
For me to give out the game ball in such a like I said, 2 games that were polar opposites in terms of competitiveness. Indiana just completely ran over and just manhandled that team, Oregon and everything. I go to that game. For me, Fernando Mendoza, 17 of 20, 85% completion percentage, 177 yards. So no, he didn't throw a ton of yards, right? Like he didn't even have to be honest with you. But he threw 5 touchdowns, and not just the 5 touchdowns. It was like I watched the film of that game, and some of the throws from an accuracy and ball placement standpoint, it's just you can't coach it, man. Like you just can't. Like was the far hash. Deep far sideline, deep out, like just on a rope. Like you in this man-to-man coverage, DB is in the inside hip pocket, and he puts that thing right to the sideline on the line. And I'm just like, yeah, that's a little different. Most guys like the accuracy level of that, the back shoulder fade, putting it around the face mask. He threw another one between the 1 and the 3 to Elijah Sarratt. Like the I think it was the slot fade or corner route to Omar Cooper. I think it's for the first drive. The timing, the when he's like the thing with him when he's getting to his first read, oh, he's elite. Like that, like, if you don't take away that first read from Fernando, you're cooked. Like if that first read is open, he's going to beat you. And like that, his accuracy, the ball placement, the compact throwing mechanics. Yeah, I'm like the people who don't want to be in on him as a first overall pick. By all means, that's your prerogative. For me, I value the stuff he's doing. I value the field vision and like understand. Like he's one of those guys, Keith. I think the word to put is cerebral, because you could tell when he knows what you're in. Yeah, like that's not a good thing for you. He's one of those quarterbacks that if you stay in the shell, you're showing pre-snap, he's going to have an answer for it. He's going to find the answer to it. The deep throw to Charlie Becker, you know what I mean? Looks up middle of the field, safety, holds the safety by looking to his left, comes back right, and delivers a dime. Like, it's just, yeah, I don't know, man. Like, this dude is good. He is darn good. He has the goods. He's the first overall pick. He's QB1. And the Raiders, hey, strike up the band. Y'all should be happy about it because he's going to give you, I believe he's going to bring that stability that you need to this situation. And again, 5 touchdowns against a really good Oregon defense too. Secondary, finding the mismatches. He does all the things that you need.
Yeah, I think everybody's waiting for Fernando Mendoza to play like an Indiana quarterback, right? And I'm gonna be honest, I still
that's perfect.
Like, yeah, and even when the game is over, DP, I'm still scratching my head. Like, is Indiana that good? Is Fernando Mendoza, Indiana quarterback, that good? But I'm not going to get in the way of what I'm seeing, right? Like, I'm not going to get in the way of that. And he's playing really good football, right? Like, we've been waiting for a collapse since October, and the collapse didn't happen, right? So. I'm right there with you. I give him the game ball too. Like he's gonna walk away this week with 2 game balls, one from me, one from you. And he's played like he played really well. Like he was calculated. The game looked like it looked easy for him, right? Like even the one-on-ones, and we talk about this all the time. Not every quarterback understands like when to throw the back shoulder fade, right? Like that. Like even this is a situation where the defensive back is right next to my wide receiver, but my wide receiver is still open. Not every quarterback understands that, right? Like, and that's the difference between the guys who have a cap of throwing for 200 yards and the guys who have a cap of throwing for 300 yards, right? And prime example, both guys have started at times. Both guys have seen some success at times, but both guys play the game totally different. If you compare a Jimmy Garoppolo, who you're probably capped at 200 yards passing, to a Jameis Winston who could throw for 350, right? Like it's just different. Like, and they both played the same role in the NFL. Starters at times, relegated to backups, but they're different ceilings as far as them knowing what throws, to make or whatever and stuff like that. So,
heck, I mean, to your point, Jerry Jeudy was struggling his whole career. Jameis Winston steps in and used Jerry Jeudy looks like a wide receiver 1. It was like, well, maybe the Browns got their guy.
Yeah, and I'm just go back to the Fernando thing that he just reminds me of a more athletic Jared Goff, like he does, like from body type, profile. I think he can move better than Jared Goff. He reminds me of more athletic Jared Goff. So you look at it and you say, listen, there was a time in the draft where a Cal quarterback, right? Jared Goff went number 1 overall. This is what we have at this point, and I think that it's a good situation. I think he's proven that. Listen, like I'm getting the job done. The only thing DP I have to say, I've seen some comparisons of people saying this Indiana team is just as good as the 2019 LSU team, DP.
Nah.
I was a part of that team, but no bias here. I'm not ready to go there yet. I'm not ready.
I won't go there. I will not go there. Love this team, but no, you got different. You talking about Sarratt going against Stingley, Pons versus Chase and Jefferson and Terrace. Yeah, no, I'm sorry. Can't do it, guys. Appreciate everything Kurt Signetti and this Indiana team has done. That 2019 LSU team was different. I saw those tweets. I didn't even engage. I'm like, this is wild to even say.
I think Greg McElroy, I think he put it out there on the broadcast, which we have to remember he's an Alabama guy.
He's an Alabama guy, so there's probably definitely some disdain for those Tigers that would cause them to say something like that. But no, I will say this, Keith. I think you mentioned the more athletic Jared Goff. My Scott report, Bleach report, I put more mobile Matt Ryan. I've seen a lot of Josh. I think Josh McCown's brother. I follow him on Twitter. He put out Sam Bradford and everything. I've seen that Sam Bradford comp thrown around a lot, actually.
I didn't see that one yet, but I don't mind that one either. I don't mind either. You talking about Matt Ryan, Sam Bradford. He can.
I got one, but I'm gonna hold it in the chamber just for whenever we do his actual profile.
Okay.
When we do his actual scouting episode, I'm it's gonna catch you off guard. I'm like, yeah, I know that. As soon as I wrote it down, because I was like, all right, I'm just thinking about different comps. I threw out Andrew Luck a little bit. I was like, just the way, like Andrew Luck played at Stanford, and probably nobody can name any of the receivers he threw to. You know what I mean? Like he was just that, it was just tight ends. He was just that good. And for me, like I love Elijah Sarratt. I think Sarratt's playing himself into that back end of round run conversation. Really like Omar Cooper, Charlie Becker. Dear God, I thought he was draft eligible. He's only a sophomore. I was pissed off when I saw that. I was like, come on, man. Like, let's add Charlie to the mix. 6'4", 210. I didn't even realize he was 6'4". 6'4", 210. He's probably gonna bust a 4.4. You know what I mean? Like in the words of Coach Prime, that white boy can run. You know what I mean? He's got real speed. So, but yeah, I thought about Luck and everything, but I got one. I was like, this is gonna pique Keith's interest. I just don't know in which direction.
Okay. All right, cool. I can't wait to hear about it. DP, I was thinking when we was talking about the Dante Moore conversation, at some point we should talk about a couple of these prospects, right? And if they should go or if they should stay, right? And just have the conversation. Because I know there'll be a lot of narratives after that, or if we thought that they made good decisions overall once they make
Ty decision. Simpson just declared let's do that tomorrow, man. Let's talk about that. Talk about some of this stuff.
Yep, let's have a good conversation about that. But DP, that wraps up another episode, man, of the Locked On NFL Draft Podcast. I want to end this podcast off by saying shout out to our everydayers. Thank you for tapping in with us each and every single day. I am Keith Sanchez. You can find me on X at The Talent Code. That right there is my guy, my co-host, Mr. Damian Parson. You can find him on X at DP_NFL. And like we like to say, man, y'all can talk to us because we like to talk back.
Go subscribe and follow for free on YouTube, wherever you listen to podcasts, to get the latest episode as soon as it is available. On tomorrow's show, we're going to get into Ty Simpson. Should he stay? Should he have stayed? Or did he make the right decision? Buy or sell? Trinidad Chambliss as well. His waiver was declined.
Denied.
They're trying to sue. Denied. They're trying to sue. Should he just say, you know what? I'm going to strike while the iron is hot. We'll talk about that on tomorrow's show. I think so too as well. So we're going to talk about that and have that conversation on tomorrow's show. So come and join the conversation again tomorrow on the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.